3 years ago, I made more money than I'd ever made in my life. I also had less saved than I did at 22. I remember staring at the transfer history on my banking app, trying to find where it all went. It wasn't one thing. That's what was so disorienting. It was everything. A little here, a little there. Reasonable decisions, one at a time, that somehow added up to nothing. That's not a money problem.
That's a system problem, and I didn't have one. Hey, I'm Jordan, and I want to start with something I think most financial content gets completely backwards.
They frame this as a discipline problem. Like, the reason you don't have money saved is because you're weak-willed, you spend too much on coffee, you lack the character to say no to things. That framing makes me, it makes me frustrated because I've watched disciplined, intelligent people make decent money for a decade and still have nothing to show for it.
And it wasn't because they were weak. It was because nobody ever gave them a structure that actually works. Today, I want to give you a specific system, 4 buckets, 1 rule per bucket, fully automatable. And I'm going to tell you exactly how I set mine up, including the mistake I made with it the first time that cost me about 8 months of progress. This one piece of this system I want you to hold in the back of your mind. I'm not going to name it yet. It's the one almost everyone skips, and it's the one that makes everything else actually survive contact with real life. Hold that. Let's build the foundation first.
Chapter 1. The Raise That Disappeared.
I want to say something that might sound obvious, but apparently isn't based on how many people I know who live it without seeing it. Spending expands to fill available income. Not because people are irresponsible, because it's completely natural. You earn more, life adjusts upward. The apartment gets a little nicer. The car upgrade finally makes sense. The restaurants improve.
The subscriptions accumulate.
Each individual upgrade feels earned because it was. You worked for it. But the aggregate effect is that your financial position at $75,000 looks identical to your financial position at $50,000, just with a better couch. Over 60% of Americans earning 6 figures live paycheck to paycheck. 6 figures. The top 15% of earners in this country, surviving month to month. The money isn't going anywhere wrong exactly, it's just going everywhere. No direction, no priority, no system deciding what matters before lifestyle decides for you. Here's what I actually think, and this is where I'll push back on how most people frame this. It's not that those people are bad with money, it's that they were never given a framework that intercepts income before lifestyle absorbs it. Willpower against lifestyle inflation is a losing fight. You need architecture, rules that run automatically, decisions made in advance so you don't have to make them in the moment. That's what the system I'm about to show you actually does. Chapter 2. 4 buckets, 1 rule each. The framework is called 15, 50, 20, 15. 4 numbers, 4 buckets, every dollar accounted for before it has a chance to disappear. 15% goes to your future self, investments that compound. 50% goes to essentials, the actual cost of keeping your life running. 20% goes to lifestyle, the things that make life worth living without wrecking the rest. 15% goes to your stability fund, the cushion that keeps one bad month from destroying years of progress. I want to be honest about something before we go any further. When I first saw a version of this framework, my reaction was, this feels too neat. Life isn't a pie chart. Real expenses don't cooperate with percentages. And I was right, partially. Getting to these percentages took me about 4 months of adjustments. My housing was too high, my essentials were blurred with lifestyle. The stability fund I kept deprioritizing because it felt less exciting than investing. So I'm not presenting this as a thing you flip on tomorrow and it works perfectly. I'm presenting it as a direction,
a set of ratios to move toward. The system works when you're close to it. It works even better when you hit it precisely. Let's go through each one. Chapter 3. The money you'll never miss. The 15% that goes to your future self has one rule. It moves first. Not after bills, not after you see what's left. First. The moment your paycheck arrives, before you've logged in and seen the full balance sitting there looking spendable, that 15% is already gone, already at work somewhere else. This is the single most important mechanical change most people can make. Not which fund to pick, not which broker to use, just the order of operations. When I set this up, and this is the mistake I mentioned, I initially automated it for the wrong day. Transfer was set for the 5th of each month.
Paycheck hit on the 1st. 4 days where the full balance sat visible in my account.
I spent some of it. Obviously, I spent some of it. Money sitting there asking to be used is money that will be used. I moved the transfer to the morning of payday. Problem solved. The full balance I ever saw was already the reduced amount. Where does it go? Start with whatever your employer matches in a 401k. That's an immediate 50 to 100% return before the market is involved at all. Then a Roth IRA. Money goes in after tax, grows completely tax-free, and you pay nothing on withdrawals in retirement. After that, a standard index fund tracking the S&P 500. No stock picking, no timing.
Buy consistently and let compound growth do what it does over decades. Someone investing $400 a month starting at 25 ends up around $2.1 million by 65 at historical market averages. Starting at 35 with the same amount, roughly $800,000. Same monthly investment, 10-year delay, $1.3 million gone. Not lost, never created, because time is the actual variable that matters most in this equation.
Chapter 4. What essentials actually means.
Here's where I think the 50% bucket requires the most honest conversation, because this is where people consistently blur the line. Essentials are housing, utilities, groceries, transportation, insurance, minimum debt payments, the baseline cost of your life functioning. Essentials are not restaurants, gym memberships, streaming services, new clothes beyond what you need, subscriptions, coffee shops.
I know the objection.
But I need to eat. Yes, groceries are essential. DoorDash 4 nights a week is lifestyle. This isn't harsh, it's just categorically accurate. The reason the distinction matters, lifestyle has its own bucket with its own cap. When you blur lifestyle into essentials, the 50% becomes 65%, and you've already broken the system without realizing it. The two categories that do the most damage here are housing and transportation. Housing should ideally sit below 28% of gross income. In expensive cities, that's a real constraint. Roommates, longer commutes, smaller spaces. I've done all three. None of it was permanent. All of it created margin that funded everything else. Transportation is, honestly, this one still gets me. The average new car payment in 2026 is over $770 a month. Add insurance, gas, maintenance, and you're above $1,000 monthly to own something that loses 20% of its value the moment you drive it off the lot. I drive a 2019 Honda Civic. It gets me where I'm going. Nobody at a red light knows how much money I'm not spending. Nobody is impressed by the car enough to deposit anything into my investment account. The performance of wealth is genuinely one of the most expensive things most people buy.
Chapter 5. The budget that doesn't feel like a budget.
The 20% lifestyle bucket is, I want to say this carefully, not a punishment category. It's not what's left over after the real money has been allocated. It's a deliberate, planned allocation for the part of life that makes life worth living. Restaurants, concerts, travel,
hobbies, clothes you actually want, not just need. Whatever makes your specific version of a good life feel good. The key is that it's finite and visible, a separate account. When payday hits, 20% moves there automatically. That account is your spending money. When it's empty, the month is over for discretionary spending. Not because you failed, because the system worked. This does something psychologically that most people underestimate. When you know the other buckets are already funded, the investments moved, the stability fund is growing, the essentials are covered, spending from the lifestyle account carries no guilt.
You're not stealing from your future.
Your future is already handled. This is the money for now. Studies on financial behavior consistently show that people who build discretionary spending into their system maintain it 3 to 4 times longer than people who try to eliminate all non-essential spending. The same pattern shows up in nutrition research. Extreme restriction leads to abandonment. Sustainable approaches include release valves. 20% is yours. Spend it without apology.
Chapter 6. The one nobody sets up.
This is the bucket I teased at the beginning, the stability fund. 15% of income until you've built 5 months of essential expenses in cash. I know, it doesn't feel exciting. It's not compounding aggressively. It's not building your future the way the investment bucket is. It just sits there, earning 4 to 5% in a high-yield savings account, waiting for something to go wrong. Here's why I kept deprioritizing mine, and why it was a mistake. About 14 months into running this system, my car needed a repair I hadn't anticipated. $1,400. Without the stability fund, that $1,400 goes on a credit card at 24% interest. Or it comes out of the investment account at a bad time, or I call someone I don't want to call. With the stability fund, I transferred the money. Repair got done, the system kept running, no debt, no liquidating anything, no decision made in a panic. That's what the stability fund actually is. It's not savings exactly. It's the shock absorber that keeps one bad month from compressing every good month that came before it. 5 months of essential expenses, high-yield savings account. Not a traditional savings account paying 0.07%, not the stock market where it could be down 30% the exact moment you need it. A real online bank paying somewhere above 4% APY. Liquid within 24 hours. Zero risk. Until you hit your target, this 15% takes priority over extra investing. Once you're there, redirect it toward accelerating the investment bucket. I want to pause here because I've described a system that is genuinely, not hype, implementable this week. The accounts exist, the automatic transfers take about 45 minutes to set up. None of this is complicated. And I'm watching some of you already building the justification for why it won't work in your specific situation. So I want to ask something directly. There are 2 people watching right now. One person is going to open their banking app before this video ends and start setting up at least one automatic transfer. Not the whole system, just one. The 15% to investments or the stability fund, something real today. The other person is going to finish this video, feel good about the information, and do nothing. Not because they're lazy, because knowing and doing are different things, and knowing feels like progress even when it isn't. Which one are you? Not which one you want to be. Which one are you actually going to be in the next 2 hours? Before we keep going, tell me in the comments which bucket you're setting up first. Investments, essentials audit, lifestyle account, or stability fund. One word or one number. I look at every comment on this channel. It shapes what I cover next.
Chapter 7. The architecture of automatic.
Here's how the system actually runs once it's set up. Payday arrives. Before you see the full balance, 3 transfers execute automatically. 15% moves to investment accounts. 15% moves to high-yield savings for the stability fund. 20% moves to a separate lifestyle spending account. What remains in checking, roughly 50%, covers essentials for the month. You log in. You see the reduced balance. That number is accurate. That's what you have for housing, utilities, groceries, transportation. The rest is already allocated, already working, already gone. No decision required, no willpower, no end-of-month regret about where the money went. Set this up once. Review it quarterly to make sure the percentages still reflect your actual life. Otherwise, leave it alone. The system runs while you focus on the only variable that actually accelerates everything, increasing your income. When income goes up and lifestyle stays fixed, the percentages become more powerful in absolute terms. Someone running this system at $60,000 invests $9,000 annually. At $90,000 with the same lifestyle, $13,500. Not because they changed the system, because the numerator grew while the denominator held. That's the acceleration principle. Systems create the foundation. Income growth provides the fuel. The system without income growth is slow. Income growth without the system disappears. Both at the same time. Chapter 8. What you're actually buying. I want to come back to the transfer timing thing I mentioned early on, because I think the reason I set it up wrong initially, transfer on the 5th when payday was the 1st, is that I hadn't fully committed to the logic of it yet. I thought I was setting up a savings system. What I was actually doing was changing the definition of my income. When the transfer executes on payday morning, the money that hits your visible balance is not your full paycheck. It's your operating budget. Your actual income, for the purposes of daily life, is 50% of what you earn. The rest belongs to other versions of time. Future you, emergency you, enjoyment you. This is the mindset shift that makes the system feel different from a budget. A budget is a restriction. Rules about what you can't do. This is architecture. Money sorted before you touch it, each portion with a specific function, none of it competing with the others. The 15% going to investments isn't being saved. It's buying ownership in hundreds of companies. Those companies have people working, products selling, profits compounding. That ownership grows while you're asleep. Eventually, not tomorrow, not next year, but eventually, the income from what you own can exceed the income from what you do. That's the actual destination, not retirement, not a number in an account. Freedom to decide what your time is for. Here's the question I want you to sit with tonight. Not answer right now, just hold. If your income stayed exactly the same for the next 5 years, no raises, no new opportunities, what would your financial situation look like if you ran this system starting Monday? Because that answer tells you something real, not about what you earn, about what you're doing with what you already have. You get to decide what kind of person you are with money. Not eventually. The decision is available right now. Drop your answer in the comments. Which bucket is furthest from where it should be? Just the name. Investments, essentials, lifestyle, or stability. If this kind of honest, specific conversation about money is useful to you, subscribe. I make more of it. Next video, I want to talk about the thing that derails this system most often. It's not a budget category. It's a conversation most people are not having with themselves about what they actually want money to do for them. I'm Jordan. Set up one transfer this week, just one, and see how it feels to watch the system work without you. The system doesn't care how you feel about money. It just runs.